Welcome back to Tabletop Assault. I'm Ross, and today I'm going to be having a look at the new Astra Militarum Cadian Shock Troops. Now, these were kindly supplied by Games Workshop, so big thank you for them to let us have a look at them. So if you look at our social media and a few of the recent battle reports, you'll have noticed I have been painting quite a lot of Astra Militarum. I even have some on the go at the moment, trying to build sort of the standing troops as you get in here. I'm going to try and integrate them into the heavy weapon teams, try and maximise the amount you get in that box. But the main thing to look at today is obviously the new one. What is that coming with? So the main question is that does it have the old sprues, including their mould lines, because they're kind of terrible. I'm going to probably bet yes. I think those sprues may have not changed, but we'll find out. And of course the optional sprue on it as well. And then afterwards I'm just going to really give you my thoughts on this. Is it a good deal? Does it advantage the players? What's the best way to purchase? So I'm just going to have a look inside to have a quick gander at some of the stuff. So yeah, you have obviously your instructions, your transfers, bases, and then the sprues. So the first thing I'm looking for is their mould lines. Usually the way I found them was usually on the legs. And yeah, I can see a wee bit of mould. Yeah, there's definitely mould lines on them. So you can see on the mould lines, usually you can find the legs or usually on the outside part, which is a nuisance, but not something I was kind of banking on that going to be the case anyway. I didn't think they were going to update the way they produced the old ones. It was simply a case of you're going to get this new sprue. So in terms of new sprue, the advantages on this one is that you actually get a bolter, a plasma pistol, power sword, and then obviously the main part for me is kind of the special weapons on this sprue. Having the optional heads is fantastic and gives a lot of character, but adding the special weapons is probably the best part, because at the moment the only way to get the plasma gun and the melted gun is to buy them separate. I think there's a pack where you get one of each and it's about £10. So getting that within the sort of set really does help, which is quite nice. You also get the sniper as well if you want to take it. And then all the heads really do give a much more individuality to the Astra Militarum. So generally I think this sprue is actually very, very, very good. So fantastic to see on that one. One thing, let's have a look in terms of price. I believe this has moved the box set from, I think, £22.50, don't quote me on that one, to I believe at the moment is £29, obviously talking about the UK here. Now, me and David debated this a lot, and maybe it will be something we might podcast on later. You know, I don't like to speak on Games Workshop pricing. Generally the community is saying that is going up an exponential amount over the years. I'm not entirely surprised by this one. It is adding a new sprue, only a small one, and it is asking for like another £6. Now you can obviously get them from other parties in the UK, and you know, your third-party stores, you might get them a wee bit cheaper through their deals with Games Workshop. So it depends where you do purchase them on that side as well. Do I think it's better? Ultimately, yes. I prefer when sprues come with sometimes the max options. So what I mean by that is the Chaos Space Marine sprue, which is you'd get, you know, your plasma gun, and I think you get close combat weapons and your melter gun in there as well. So you can mix and match on that one. And maybe prefer sprues to be more your unit builds and then only the special weapons, rather than having a mix of all different types of weapons. So you might have, I'll take an example of, I'm trying to think of one where you've got a mixture of different weapons, but it's like 10 troops or something. I forget, I think they're the Adeptus Sororitas new stuff. You can basically choose between the shields and halberds and the shields and the maces. I've not seen that sprue yet, but it's kind of like that idea where you're sort of paying for 2 weapon options in one sprue, and yet you're only going to use one of those options really, compared to this one where you're going to use majority las guns and then there's some upgrades on top of them. So what do I think? In terms of it going up in price, we all knew that was going to be the case, and it's gone up by, is that £6.50? Yeah. Now you are mainly getting the head options, which is fine, and then the special weapons on top of it. Fine. I think adding a bit more character to the sergeants, even if you weren't going to use it as a power sword, there's also I think the metal pointing hand, but even if you weren't going to use power sword, I would still model one with it and just go, look, it's a close combat weapon or chainsword, it just looks cooler. You're never going to really use a power sword on one of your sergeants for your infantry squad. So I think overall just adding a little bit more character is kind of useful for that one. Would have I preferred it to be a sprue on its own for maybe like £5, £6, £7? Yeah, maybe I would. Reason for that is I think the best way people are probably going to find to purchase the Astra Militarum is you might buy these singly, and I will tell you why in a minute. But £29 at the moment of terms when you can purchase, you can get the starter set, which should give you an old school one of them, which will just come with your basic sprues like that. You then also get a Lehman Russ, a Commissar, and I think a heavy weapon team, and that is £55. So it's an extra, what, 30, is that 25 quid? And you're getting a Lehman Russ, and then you're getting a heavy weapon team and a Commissar, which is kind of worth it. I think that's a good price at the moment. I highly suspect the starter set is going to change. When the Codex comes out, you'll probably get the new Start Collecting one, and we'll see what that will come with in that one. I imagine it's probably going to be more or less this you're going to get in the box, probably the optional, the new sprue as well. And will it change price? Who knows? I don't personally know on that one. But I do think the best way is maybe to buy one of these if you're not too worried about special weapons, and then you can expand your Lehman Russes and everything. I know Demolishers are more popular, but if you've got like two boxes of the Start Collecting, you're getting 2 vehicles, you're getting your 2 squads of these, and it should give you a bit more way to go. I know when I started Astra last year, I think I only bought one of them, and then I got a whole bunch of the Start Collecting because it was quite a good deal at the time. So yeah, in terms of the special weapons, how would you use them? What makes them worth it? They're very rarely taken, but I know that there's a tactic. I haven't used it myself because I don't have any special weapons until now. But I think you use the special weapons team, you put them in tactical reserve, and that means about turn 2 or 3 you can come in from the board side edges. And because they're only, I think, very low in command points, when you come in from tactical reserves, you only need to spend very few command points to put multiple squads in, and then you come in from the sides and just start blasting with Melta and Plasma, maybe outflank some of your opponent's heavy weapons or heavy vehicles, and then you can get the Melta in range. You will be destroyed probably next turn because guards, special weapon teams, guards, they're not the best way to survive. But that is a tactic, so this sort of justifies, you know, having those special weapons, especially now. So do I think it's a good deal? Yeah, sure. You know, it's an extra couple of quid. If you buy them from some of the other store options within the UK, you can get them cheaper as well, which is fantastic. We'll talk, probably in our podcast, we'll talk about pricing. Me and David spoke a lot about this. He believes very much price per model versus I was very much price per sprue. And then there's also the conversation of price per point. As these are currently, as I'm recording this, I think 55 points for a squad of 10. At 29 quid, that's well over half a, you know, a pound gets you about half a point, which is very expensive, and that is quite disconcerting as well. So yeah, I'm going to end it there. I know that comes off a bit more negative, but it is a good set in itself. Maybe a bit expensive for such a squad that you might only get about 30 to 50 of these now. I knew back in the past you had to get like 90 of them to fill up so many battalions for command points, but I don't think the infantry work like so. That's not desired for the infantry now. I personally run only 3 squads of them, and then I put them in chimeras where I can and launch them up the field so that they have to deal with the chimera first, then infantry. So 3 squads frankly does me well. So I'm interested to see what people think in this one. No one likes a price change, let's face it, but you're never going to get this sprue for free. In this world, that just never happens. But what are people's thoughts on the pricing? Is it a good deal? Should it be cheaper? Let me know. I'm just very intrigued to see what people think. But overall, adding a lot more character to the Astra Militarum is good. I've painted a bunch of the same heads over and over again, and I do like it brings character and the special weapons, so I don't need to spend a tenner extra, which ultimately costs more money if I'm going to buy them separately. Although you'd get 12 models instead of 10 then, so you can try and do the math on that one. So yeah, there's a lot of people's view in this one, a lot of discussion. I'm very intrigued to hear. I think it's quite frankly good because we're now seeing that evolution of Games Workshop is trying to update its troops, which I'm very intrigued by. You obviously saw that with Chaos Space Marines, Necron Warriors. All of them have been updated in terms of their troops. We're now getting this with Astra Militarum, and we'll probably see that with other forces going forward. I know Craftworld badly needs an update, though that's just about every unit in their codex though. So thanks again. Please comment, share, like and subscribe, and we'll see you in our Tabletop Assault Battle Report.